are $178.5 million. 45.6% of that goes to our general fund, where 54.4% is made up of our proprietary funds. Keep the 45.6% in mind. We'll go through that on our next slides so that I can explain what that's made up of. Right now, we're going to look at our proposed expenditures, which is also $178.5 million, which is made up of 45.6% of our general funds, the special revenue funds, also at 8.5%, 37.6% are enterprise funds, 3.1% is transportation, and 1% is in internal service funds. Now we take a closer look at our general fund, and our general fund is made, 62% of our general fund is made up of personnel, 22% is made up of operations, with operating expenses. We have 8% made of reserves and others, 2% of grants and aids, 1% of capital, and 5% of internal functions. This is the list of capital projects that we'll be working on this upcoming budget year. We have put aside $20.09 million to continue to improve the city with our capital projects, of which Ms. Deputy City Manager will come in and explain what some of these projects are.
Next slide. Thank you. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, residents. Thank you all for being here. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about our system, particularly our Winston Water Treatment Plant, a plant that has been around for many years, 50 plus years, and that plant is unfortunately not able to operate at full capacity. That plant is able to produce over 9 million gallons a day. However, because it's not at optimal levels, because of the infrastructure, we're actually able to only produce at 5 million gallons a day. What that means for us is we have to purchase the remaining water from Miami-Dade County. And to just go a little more granular, what that translated to is when we purchase water, when we actually produce the water in our own plant, we can produce it at less than $1, about 90 cents. When we purchase the water from Miami-Dade County, because it's at wholesale rate, we have to purchase it at $2.11. So we're spending $5.7 million additional to purchase the water because we can't produce the water at our plant. I tell you all of that because when we actually had to work with Black and Beach, they did a study because we have to do a rate study because it's the revenues that we have to generate in order for us to cover the cost to operate the plant. And unfortunately, because of the cost to operate the plant, you see before you on the 23-24 Enterprise Funds Water System rates, when those rates came back from the study, it showed that we needed to increase our rates from 22 to 27 by a combined rate of 7.5% in the first couple of years, and then it went down to 7% and 5%. Now, when Black and Beach actually did the report, they came before the county, the city, and when they came before the city, they actually did the report and it was adopted and approved. It also adopted and approved those rates. So approving those rates allowed us to move forward with the increases on an annual basis. We unfortunately did not increase the rates last year, and so we have the revised revenue increase that you see on the right side of the slide that shows our rates from 22 to 29. So what we've had to do, instead of increasing the rates and just kind of ballooning it up really high for those 2 years of that lost year, you show here a smoothing out of that rate being 7.5% in a combined amount for 22, and 8.5%, well actually move it down to 8.5% for 2024, which is our next fiscal year, 8.4 for water and 8.6 for sewer. So those are some of the things that I need you to understand, and I also want to share with you, we're doing everything to bring down the cost. Some of the things is we did receive a SRF loan. That SRF loan is for $39.9 million, and that money will be used to rehabilitate and improve the plant. We're also applying for many grants so that we can also improve the plant and hopefully get a new plant. As you heard earlier in the presentation, that is a priority of our council. Take it to the next slide. So what you have here, as I mentioned, the cost. We know that the cost of the water, we get the complaints that it's high, and so what we're looking at is how do you mitigate that and how do you bring that cost down? It's by doing some of the things that we're talking about, improving the system. But what you can see here is a sample residential rate, utility rate, and I want to capitalize on that. It's a utility bill, because a utility bill doesn't only have your water bill, it also includes your sanitation and your stormwater. And you see below, on the very bottom, on the top of the fee charges, you see your water-based rate and your consumption rate. Then you see your sewer-based rate and your sewer consumption, county service fee, the sanitation and stormwater. Currently, we build on a quarterly system. We have a quarterly billing system. And on an average consumption of a small family of 4, about 5,000 gallons a month. So on a quarterly basis, 15,000 gallons is what you see on the top. A bill would be about $350.54. However, if we were to move to a monthly billing system, you would take that and prorate that, of course, to a monthly basis, bringing that bill down to $116.85. Now, a couple of things I want to make sure I mention. We would move to monthly. While that actually reduces the bill, it will actually require the meter readers. We would have to go to read the meter a lot more frequently, which would also increase some costs. So it's important that we be in tandem with increasing our system. And one of the things that we're looking at is automated meter infrastructure, which is short for AMI. So AMI will allow us to bring in those meters earlier and that you have automated meter reading. That technology allows you to have leak detection, so that's a savings also. That technology also allows you to even monitor the behavior. Many of you probably have seen that system with FPL. And so it's the same type of system where you have it right on your cell. You can have it right on your cell phone. You can see what your pattern of usage is. So those are the type of technologies we're looking at. So if we were to go to monthly, we would be trying to implement that technology right away so that we don't have to hire a lot more meter readers and then unfortunately have to get rid of the meter readers or make some adjustments by shifting them throughout the city and other vacant positions. Now the last proposal is if we were to move the sanitation and the stormwater fee from your utility bill and truly have that bill be a water bill, water and sewer bill, and then move those to your property tax bill. Now, many municipalities do this currently. This is not anything that will be something we're trying that hasn't been tested and tried. And so what you'll have is that amount, as you can see, disappears off on that third column, and now your rate on that 5,000 gallons a month is $74.35, but you'll have an annual bill of $424.56 for your sanitation bill, and then $85.44 for your stormwater bill, for a total of $510 on an annual basis on your property tax bill. I really want to make sure I put emphasis on that. It's an annual bill on your property tax bill. So the next slide you'll see, and I want Ivana to help us out. We got a couple poll questions that we're going to ask you because we really want your feedback. We want to make sure we understand. And for our listeners that are watching us virtual, you can scan this. I hope you can scan this through your screens, but if you can't, you can text DCS-ED, search 1222333. Text to 22333. You can do that. Join us by text or you can also scan the QR code that we have there. I'll give a few seconds for those to scan the code. Now, when you do this, it allows you to vote once. You can change your vote if you decide to change your mind and you want to go back because you thought you pressed the other button. You can select and then rechange your mind, but you do get only one vote. And this is the participation. We just want to hear your voice of what type of service you want. What would you like? So I'll move to the first question. So utility billing options, please tell us what worked for you. What will work for you? A, quarterly billing. That's the current system that we have today, which includes your water sewer bills, sanitation and stormwater, all on your current bill on a quarterly basis. Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I just have a question. For the tax bill, are there other municipalities doing it that way?
The county does.
The county does it that way? And so then how does it work? Like for a resident who has, oh, gotcha. So for a resident who is paying their mortgage, it would just come through as part of the tax bill through their mortgage, and so it would just come, you have an increase to your mortgage.
Right, that 510, it will be a part of your non-ad valorem taxes on the bottom of your tax bill. And as a part of your non-ad valorem taxes, usually there's some money that goes into your escrow. Right. And then that escrow amount pays it if there's a shortage or above. But yes, it's part of the property tax bill. $510. So A is the current system quarterly billing. B is the all-inclusive, but it's just moving to monthly. And then C is moving to a monthly system, but you're removing your sanitation and your sewer to your property tax bill for an annual bill.
So does that become like a write-off then?
Well, I mean,
it works.
When you do your taxes, but it's so nominal, $510 for the year. But where I live, yes, it's on my property tax bill, and you pay the whole thing for the year, and we're done. So it's for some people, it may not seem like a convenience. For others, it is a convenience. I mean, at the end of the day, and somebody asked that question yesterday, you're paying that bill right now, right? Quarterly, you're paying that bill right now. We're just trying to make it more convenient for the residents for cash flow purposes. So if it would work for you to do it that way, then your monthly bill for the water would be $74.35. And then, once a year, you have the annual bill that's going to be on part of your property taxes for $510. Now, this does not, we're still splitting the bill, again, just to help for cash flow purposes, but this is just one measure that we're doing to alleviate the situation. It's not the main measure, and that's what we're going to be talking about after, which is all the improvements that we would like to do for the water plant and the infrastructure.
And while you're doing this, I also made the mention of the fact that if you saw the 20 million that we're including in our capital plan for the current fiscal year, all of those things are to improve the infrastructure, to bring down our costs. Because to the extent that we can improve our system, then we can actually wean ourselves off the county and purchase less gallons from the county. The more we purchase from the county, the more it costs us, because it costs us more to purchase than to produce it. I'll move to the next question. And as you can see, the results are live. So this one here is the sanitation frequency of our bulk pickup system. As you know, right now we have a bulk system that is a weekly system. You can get up to 8 cubic yards a week. What we're looking at is if we were to propose a system where it is a monthly pickup, which is what we've seen in many other municipalities. It's not just for the fact of bringing the cost down, but more from the aesthetics of our community, because when you have weekly pickup, what we've seen is sometimes you bring in those illegal dumpers that are coming because the landscaper knows there's going to be piles every week on that block, and so they're bringing things to our community to dump in our weekly pickup. So this is just an option for your consideration. And you want to say something?
That was a big concern, right?
Let me grab your mic.
Yeah. For example, we are
Since we're live streaming, we can do it right.
okay. So we are from Yagasa, which is a combat shelter, and the concern we have regarding the collection is really big. We have paying an arm and a leg for extra collection because Waste Pro is not committed with our monthly bill, with the 3 pickups per week. And this is something that we like to address seriously. After the pandemic, having a combination for the forecast, which is summertime, rain, all these things, they are really bad,
And they argue they don't have enough drivers. And we pay for 3 pickups per week. And they go maybe one, or maybe not, or maybe not.
You have a private agreement with them for those 3 pickups?
Yes.
It's a commercial property, but listen to you. And also, I'm actually a resident here, like her, right? And we have the same problem in the community, which is not consistency.
And we understand what we've been doing is we've been monitoring those complaints and we've been receiving complaints. We had a meeting just this week actually with Waste Pro to kind of bring down the hammer on them about some of the complaints in the service and making sure that they're honoring the terms of the contract that we have in place today. We have a system in the city called Everbridge where we utilize for disseminating information to our residents that have signed up on that system. We use it more often for emergencies, but there are other things that we utilize the system for as well to get information out to our residents. What we've actually done is going to start doing is using that so that we can actually send information out saying that they didn't finish this area, they're going to be back. There is a shortage of drivers that is not unique to them. However, sometimes when they're going to jump, it gets dark and they can't make it back. So we've asked them to communicate with us and advise us, you can't complete the service today, you gotta go back tomorrow. Let us know so we can get that information to the residents and they know there's a pickup in the morning, because that communication is very flat. But we're on them, trying to hold them to the terms of the contract and implementing this new system with Everbridge that we hope to improve on that.
And we have another question.
And then we have about 5 years left on the contract.
It's something that we need to revise, I'm sorry, because we are actually, since COVID, with this company, and it's a monopoly. That means nothing that you can do.
Unfortunately, like I just said, we have 5 more years left in the contract with Waste Pro.
Truly understand the actually limitations of the contract, that we have all the contracts. But the thing is, we need to pay out of pocket from my budget, and I'm a CFO, Chief Executive Operations, to have like an extra removal. And when I have a credit from them, they just give me a $20, and they do not remove the disposable. That means it's actually an ethics thing.
So we can have a further conversation, as it was
Yes.
just mentioned today on that. I understand that, but I'd like to stay focused on the budget presentation. And Sarah, you have a question or comment?
Yeah, just regarding Waste Pro as well. It would be awesome if there was a reporting system so that we could all, I have a commercial service as well as a residential service, and we've experienced lots of shortfalls. But there was a point where there was an online place that you could just market. If there would be some sort of return to an easy way to market, I'm sure for you guys, it would be helpful in showing Waste Pro your problem areas. And
Most definitely.
yeah, and then the other thing I just want to say regarding the monthly pickup, I definitely support that, because we often, code cannot go around and enforce all of the early drop-offs And so if we had just one time a month, or even 2 times a month where we were getting pickup, we wouldn't have people leaving their piles out so early all the time.
And just to, my comment, like last night was, I don't know how many residential houses has bulky pickup every week. Like how many furniture, how many, it's not every week unless then somebody else is participating. Other cities, again, they have it less frequent than a week. City of Miami, it's a week, yes, I know. But other cities, they have it less frequently. They have it twice a month, they have it once a month. The reason why we're asking about this is simply because we want to have a conversation with Waste Pro in terms of the cleanliness, because that meant if you're doing it less than weekly, then you're doing it in regions, in areas, right? So the first Monday, you're going to be in District 1, and everybody gets picked up, and so on and so forth. You see what I'm saying? So that was one of the reasons why we asked that question. Okay, thank you. Go to the next slide. Angela.
Yes.
Can we go to the next slide? There we go. So the next question, there we go. This town hall scenario is done in August. Next fiscal year, we're going to start it earlier. Normally, for me, it would be great to meet in February, March, so we can hear from you and make sure that our priorities are aligned with what your priorities are for the community. And then we have a retreat with the mayor and council, explain the priorities, and then we align it with the budget. So for now, I still want to hear from you, and that's why we have this. Like, please, if any of the priorities that we've already mentioned, you think we should be considering or adding, please write them in. I see Parks and Recreation improvement. Yes, we have that. Purchase of the Galvin Center, improvement to the water plant. Yes, those are our priorities. And investment in parks, developments, and repairs. Yes, Christine.
That was
You have everybody here, right?
I have not. I'm not
Christine Carter, the first director, is right here, subliminally telling you she needs all the funding possible.
No, I haven't said anything. Go ahead, I participated.
Yeah, if there's anything else you want to verbally say, you can go ahead. But if you could, this helps us document and keep a record of what's being said and so on. And that's why I like this system better. And it's anonymous. Okay, so next slide. Yay. Okay, so following, let me look at my PowerPoint. Following the priorities from the mayor and council, and what we need to get done. These are the priorities that my office, the city, and all the employees will be focusing on in the coming years. One is about efficiency. We're restructuring and reorganizing departments to make it more efficient and to increase our level of customer service. For instance, the Neighborhood Services Department, formerly known as Code, we restructured that. They not only are code compliance inspectors, but they do inspections for certificate of use, reoccupancy inspections, BTRs. You'll be able to go there to go get your garage sale permit, as opposed to going to community planning and development, which may take a little bit longer. So a lot of those services that we're going to be transferring to them is to help and streamline some of the backlog that we have and the bottleneck, but it helps also in the efficiency in terms of revenue and for the customer service level. The other thing that we're doing right now, and our IT director is here, Mr. Claude Charles, is we're implementing a new enterprise resource planning system. That is the financial system that the city uses. Our system is so outdated that the Eden system that we use is discontinued, and there's no upgrade, there's no repair patches. The challenge with that is it's so outdated that departments can't talk to each other, and we need to upgrade our system. So this ERP system that we're doing right now, Munis and Intergov, it's going to allow for our financial department to link to all the departments. Your permitting. So now, if you're going to the building department and there's a citation from code, you will know because the department has access to everything, and it's not something that we have to call another department and spend all the human hours to get the information on, and which is, to me, those are efficiencies that we should be doing, and other cities have already done those things. We need to catch up to that. Under revenue generating activities, we're identifying ways to save
There are a lot of other things that we're doing to save on our expenditures. We have a full-time grant administrator and a full-time grant writing consulting team. So their job is to apply for every single grant that we've identified as priorities, like for instance, the parks needs to access these dollars to help us out. We're also looking for a corporate sponsorship company to help us fundraise and get corporate sponsors for our signature NOMI events like the Winter National Parade, right? So that we can cover that. We've recently renegotiated with the CRA Miami-Dade County for a lesser contribution to the CRA of our shares. Before we were contributing 95% of our increment. So for this year in the previous chart, it shows that we would be contributing $12.1 million to the CRA. As of the following fiscal year, we'll be contributing a bit less and we'll be keeping a few more dollars into our general fund to cover our expenses. Definitely acquiring the Scott Galvin Community Center so that it's no longer on our general fund. We're paying rent, insurance, and so on. And aggressively pursuing outstanding receivables of our utility services. So the presentation that my colleagues did earlier talked about the water bill, how high it is, and the expenses. One of our biggest challenges is that a lot of the multifamily buildings, commercial properties, condos, and apartments are in arrears with their water bill. We have now been given permission by the Mayor and Council. Actually, a few months ago, they approved. We've hired attorneys, and we're aggressively pursuing all of the people that are outstanding. As of our fiscal year 2021 financial statements, the 2022 financial statements, we have about $19 million outstanding in receivables. So we plan on collecting that money because that's the money we're going to use for the improvements for the water plant and the infrastructure. So we would like to thank you for paying your bills on time. However, if you know anybody in the multifamily buildings and the condos, please, you can mention to them and to call me, because we need to have a serious conversation. That we need to be paid for the service so we can improve the system that we have. Next thing is the redevelopment. Again, redeveloping the downtown, Northwest 7th Avenue, and all our major corridors. And our capital plan, again, includes the water plant improvements and our infrastructure improvements, and as many of the park facilities that we can do. Next slide. So based on the priorities from the Mayor and Council and from the administration, we filtered it to our priorities for grant funding requests. So these are all the priorities that we're going to be applying for, and we've already started. For resilience, for public works and utilities, we're getting monies for the infrastructure, septic to sewer. We recently received another $600,000 grant from the state. Senator Shepard Jones was at our council meeting this past Tuesday and informed us, applying for additional grants for right-of-way improvements. Under economic development, we're looking at grants for workforce development. Not only in the city of North Miami, but all municipalities are suffering of staff shortages. We actually, little plug, we actually have a job fair for the city at the North Miami Library tomorrow. So if you know anybody who's interested and who wants to apply, please come by the library, and also you can visit our website. But I say this because everywhere you go, even, thank you, the chief is here, we had a conversation today, there's a shortage of police officers everywhere, inspectors and so on. So we're looking at ways to do apprentice programs and find ways to help people to get the certification they need so they can have an apprentice entry-level position within the city. So the grant would be for the workforce development, would be for that. For instance, again, I keep bringing up yesterday, Chief Rivera, 911 operators. We need 911 operators. That's a 248-hour certification training. And we would be willing, and we have the funds for it, to pay for it for us to get somebody to become a 911 operator. Obviously, it would be exclusive to the city of North Miami, and then you can't go to another city and benefit there from our labors, but that's an example of what we're trying to do. The other grants would be, again, for Parks and Rec, for community programming, wireless connectivity, In terms of the mobility plans, we're applying for grants for the transportation planning. We literally applied for a grant last month to do an analysis of speeding in our city, so we could look at a comprehensive traffic calming system. So that's one of the things that we're doing, and that's based on the fact that the complaints that we've been receiving in terms of speeding and so on. And I'd like to applaud the police department because of their Slow Your Roll campaign. I don't know if you guys have been paying attention. For the past few months, a lot of people have been getting tickets, and now they're driving slowly and appropriately in our city. So I'd like to thank the police department for that. Additionally, sustainability and environment, we're applying for grants for the seawall restoration, sargassum removal. We were spared this year, but we still have to work and plan for the future and not wait for it to happen again. So although we do have some funds available for, if it happens again, but we are pursuing funds for a more permanent solution. So that's an example of something that we're doing. Funding for electric vehicle charging stations and other environmental restoration projects. Again, we're applying for grants for housing and social services. We have a food pantry, and our budget is limited, it's finite. We have about $180,000, and with that, we feed our seniors and the community that needs it twice a week, and we provide perishables and other, food. So it's extremely important. We're going to be applying for grants for that to sustain and supplement what we're doing on the city side. And under public safety, of course, we're applying for grants for the license plate reader, additional police officers, and all the other equipment that the police department needs to perform their duty. Next slide. Okay. So I'm here for any questions. And first of all, I'd like to acknowledge Councilman Scott Galvin, who came in the thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Right?
I gotta go to an event at FIU, so now I need to go home and change clothes.
Yeah.
So
You're
I
sure.
apologize.
Yeah.
But thank you guys for all doing this.
No problem. Yes.
I just wanted to say one thing, now that we can see the progress that FDOT is making with the interchange at 6th and 125th and Dixie. I mean, I don't know of a community group or city board or anyone who supported the proposed changes there, and it's all sort of coming together. There could be some good and some bad, but one of the issues that at DayPack we talked about a lot was the fact that this bus turnout lane that they have on Dixie as you head north requires the buses to pull left instead of right. And the challenge will be that there's like an entry island there, and I didn't know if FDOT has plans for any sort of bus shelter or anything there, but we already have seen that whole area has a lot of activity with pedestrians and public transit users, and FDOT's plan didn't really address the concerning issues with pedestrians in that area, and how to make sure that people have shelters at the buses, and how to make sure that people could safely walk between each of those little, kind of dangerous spaces. So I hope that the city in this upcoming budget looks at ways that we can make sure that people stay safe and sheltered, and hopefully moving through that area well, because I don't know that did us right.
That's a very good point, and I know Indira is taking notes for us, and so any suggestions that you have, she's taking notes, and we can follow up with the department. But definitely, I mean, if you don't have a shelter, you're melting away under the sun. Yeah.
But it's also just the garbage.
Yeah.
We've got to pay a lot of attention to that on a regular basis.
Okay. Thank you. Any other, Ms. Sylvia? No comment or question? Okay. We're being watched, we're live streamed and on our YouTube channel. And we will see you all. Please tell your neighbors. And I know Karen is coming next week, you said. So Monday, August 28th, we will be at the Griffin Community Center, and Tuesday, August 29th, we'll be at the North Miami Library. And I'd like to remind you that the budget hearing is September 5th and September 19th at 6 o'clock. Okay. Thank you very much, and I'm here if you have any questions afterwards. Is that clear?
It depends on who's asking the question.
What now?
It depends on how many questions. Yesterday, Joseph saying, yeah, it was 7, and I said, no, but I said,